Just
live,
the two
back
of us,
again.
so it's run around and sit.
Hi guys, welcome back to Facebook Live. I'm Harry, joined by Duck, as always.
Hello folks.
Please leave your questions in the comments below, and I'm sure we'll get around to answering them.
Even I can't remember which is the right way around now.
I don't even know anymore.
Right.
I've got it wrong, probably.
Ask us your questions, we'll do our best to answer them. You can answer them. I'm doing it now. You can ask them while we're live or afterwards, doesn't matter. And
Either way.
We'll do our best to tell you what you want to know.
And if not, just say hello, and we will say it back. So, right, Duck, we're talking about crypto coin scams. Naked Security has been writing about cryptocurrency-related issues for years now. This is not a new problem. We've actually just released an article about how crypto coin scams are actually back, and how to avoid them, and they're actually working again. Can you kind of expand on that a little?
Yes, people may be wondering, hey, cryptocurrencies, crypto coins, online scams, you give your money to someone you've never heard of, and hey, guess what, they run off with it. Why is that new? Why now? Well, the reason that we decided to publish that article this week is a specific issue relating to a fairly recent cryptocurrency-related scam. And it just so happened that this was a press release from the Department of Justice in the US, where in New York, this chap called Maxim Zaslavsky, I hope I pronounced his name correctly,
hopefully,
just in case you need to recognize it again, not only did he get busted and arrested and put on trial, he actually got convicted, and he got an 18-month prison sentence, basically for convincing people to invest in a pack of cards relating to, well, where even the cards were imaginary. So basically rip people off. And he got caught, even though his was an online crime. It was sort of an old-style crime of confidence trick committed in a new style way. He did get busted. So we figured, after all the years, what is it that makes people still fall for this kind of thing? So we decided to investigate and try and give some advice that we're not giving you investment advice because we're not investment advisors. But it just sort of, why is it that cryptocurrencies, which have been in the news for years and years and years and years, for good and for bad and for all things in between, how come people are still falling for this? So that was the reason why we got into it, was the good news that at least some of the people who are trying to scam us using cryptocurrencies do get caught, they do get busted, and they do get punished. We thought that was worth celebrating and using it as a reason to say to people, hey, the best way for this guy not to have to go to prison is not to let him get away with the scam at all in the first place. Then we can all sleep soundly in our beds, and he gets nothing. Not even a prison sentence.
Not even a prison sentence. Our very own Anna Brading says, Oscar says hi to both of us. So
hi to Oscar.
And also,
hi, Anna.
We've also got Fred Young saying, Fred, Charlie and Billy say hi, which are my uni mates. So hello guys.
Hello guys, thanks for coming along.
Thanks for coming along.
Well, just watch out there. If you're at uni, you're probably going to end your university studies, at least if you're in the UK, with some giant wedge of debt, probably. mid 5 digits in pounds. It's an awful lot of money.
Don't remind us, please.
And it's really nice to think, hey, what if I could invest £100 now instead of going to the pub? And hey, I could come out with £50,000. I could come out debt free. It's not, unfortunately. It's usually not that simple. Or if it were that simple, absolutely everybody would be doing it.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, some people are doing it, and in some cases, not always, they're getting ripped off. So let's have a look at why.
Exactly. And I think a big thing to kind of point out is that people want to kind of invest in these cryptocurrencies because they want to get involved before it even kind of gets off the ground, doesn't it? It's the best to get in early.
That's why the article we wrote talks about crypto coin scams rather than cryptocurrency problems. Now, Naked Security, for years, we've been writing about problems with so-called cryptocurrency exchanges. Now, if you don't know much about cryptocurrencies, you'll know that most of them rely on essentially a team of, if you like, paid volunteers who do calculations in the background, so-called crypto coin mining, to verify the transactions that are going to be accepted and to build a thing called a blockchain, which is a public distributed ledger or database that's very hard to forge. So once everyone has agreed that I paid you 3.5 bitcoins today for, doesn't matter what it was, then nobody else can go and reverse that, or I can't spend the coins twice. So it's a way of having what amounts to a transaction like you might do with a credit card, or in the old days a checkbook, but you don't need a central authority because you have all these people who are mining the cryptocurrency by donating computer time. And what they hope is that if they're successful in authorizing transactions, they get repaid in kind. So they get some transaction fee and they earn into the Bitcoins. Now, the problem is that mining cryptocurrencies for the popular ones like Bitcoin requires so much CPU power that you can't do it on your own anymore. So you typically join what's called a mining pool or a team of guys, or you buy shares in some kind of mining farm, which is racks and racks and racks and racks of computers in a server room somewhere where electricity is cheap, and you hope to get your money that way.
Yeah.
So that's one way, is you actually involve yourselves in the fabric of mining or doing the transaction processing. Or you buy in through what's called a cryptocurrency exchange, which lets you spend regular money, pounds, dollars, euros, whatever it is, and you send someone some money and they hold some cryptocurrency, or so you hope, on your behalf.
That's
and
what they
then
say.
You can trade with those cryptocurrencies, and instead of using cryptocurrencies just to buy and sell stuff, which is the original idea of Bitcoin, it was just like having a credit card where you didn't need to go to a credit card company. It was for transactions, but it's become more of an investment vehicle where people think, I know, I'll buy Bitcoin when they're $1,000 or $3,000 or $7,000 because they're going to go up to 21. I'm making those numbers up.
Yeah,
right? This is not investment advice. So what they're hoping is they want to buy in, and then they buy through in this exchange, but there's no real regulation in most countries around these exchanges. Basically, you're giving someone you've never heard of your money, and you're hoping they're going to actually buy Bitcoins, and when you come to sell them, they still have them and they can sell them and give you the real money back. And so people have made money this way. If you buy Bitcoins when they're $7,000 each and you buy 3 of them and they go up to $10,000, then you're going to make $9,000 when you sell them. That's the idea. But everybody, and I use everybody metaphorically, everybody knows that when Bitcoin started, it was just for like geeks or nerds or like sort of cypherpunks, and it was just like for sort of cryptographically cool people to try and build this online way of just buying and selling anything, really. And you mine Bitcoins on your own computer. If you got in early, well, they weren't worth anything and everybody laughed at them. So everybody, in the metaphorical sense, figures, you know what, it's all very well to buy Bitcoins now and hope they'll go up, but that's just like buying stocks in a big and well-established company, like, you know, an old and well-known car company, or an old software company like Microsoft. Might be a great investment. You buy the shares, you hope they go up a bit, you make some back. But what a lot of people figured, imagine if you were in at the very beginning of Bitcoin. There's a story that says that there was a guy who went by the handle Smoke Too Much. I don't know what he smoked too much of, but apparently he had 10,000 Bitcoins back in the early days. This is 10 years ago. That I presume he'd mined himself. It was easy in those days. You could do it with 2 or 3 spare computers at home. You paid the electricity, and he thought, I know, I'll try and make money out of them. I'll put them up for auction online. I want $50 for 10,000 Bitcoins. And the story says that Mr. Smoke Too Much didn't get a buyer. Well, let's hope he held on to them.
I was going to say, I hope he did.
Because they're worth somewhere on the order of $100 million now. So we're not talking an investment going up X2 or X3 or even X 1,000.
1,000,
We're not talking, as I said in the article, we're not talking about going from being poor to being rich. We're talking about going from being poor to being rich, as the Big Bang Theory puts
rich tea.
And so everyone thinks, well, the trick there is you've got to be in when the cryptocurrency starts before it gets big. And it's hard to start a company because, you know, you need an idea and you need a product and you probably need intellectual property or a patent and you need to go to a company's house and you need to register it. So actually getting people to invest in a new company and picking them to invest, that sounds hard. But hey, what the cryptocurrency scene has done is they've come up with the idea of, instead of an IPO, an initial public offering, which is what stock markets offer when a private company wants to go public, first chance for the public to buy shares. And if it's a popular company like Facebook went public, hey, I want some of that. And people are hoping that in the first day the shares might jump up and they can make a quick buck, or because the company is obviously valuable, then over a long period the shares are going to go up quite a lot and they'll probably make money if they hold on to. That's the idea. So an IPO, it's your early chance to buy into a company that people have heard of, but now you get your chance.
Is that the same as like the initial coin?
So the cryptocurrency scene has got a thing that they call, because the words have no regulatory or legal meaning, but they come up with a thing. Instead of an IPO, they'll have an ICO, an initial coin offering. And basically, I wrote down, this is my simple definition, I'll read it out. It's an unregulated public offering that raises funds for launching a new cryptocurrency. As simple as that. So you don't need a company, you don't need a company registered, you don't need a product, you don't need a prototype that you can go and show people. You just say, hey, we're starting this new cryptocurrency and concoct or present legit or concoct fake story here, and you encourage people to invest in something. So unfortunately, the cost for a crook who's got the gift of the gab to come up with a fake initial coin offering is pretty low.
Right.
All you really need is some command of the jargon and a flashy website. Imagine if you wanted to pull off a real estate scam or some financial scam by, I've invested in all this property and holiday resorts in little-known countries that are, that are on the up and up. You can invest in my company. People know how to do the sort of regulatory checks they expect. Yeah. They know that they probably have to register with the financial authority. There might be in their country, there might be a real estate regulator that they can go and check with and find out, hey, these guys aren't on the list, and ask themselves why. Unfortunately, all those checks and balances that may exist for physical investment, traditional investments, very few of those in most countries exist at all for cryptocurrency offerings. Right. And they call them coin offerings because it sounds dramatic, right?
Yeah, I was going to say.
You're coining it. We're not talking about just a cryptocurrency. Yeah. We're talking about, it feels like, I'm actually going to get a gold coin.
Full gold coin.
Imagine if I had a Krugerrand. Imagine how much that is worth. Well, I'm getting a chance to buy the machine that makes gold and mints Krugerrands. Wow, I'm going to coin it.
Yeah,
literally
coin it. Yeah.
So unfortunately, it's easy to get sucked into this, and even more unfortunately, for crooks who want to get in on the idea of ICOs, because not an ICO isn't ipso facto a scam. I mean, it's lawful to do this, provided that you actually do what you say in your prospectus, and that if you claim that you're going to back the investment that people make in your cryptocurrency in some way, that you're going to provide an online vehicle whereby they can trade in them, maybe you're going to invest in something to have some investment to back it, etc., etc. As long as you do all that, then that's fine. The problem is, it is unfortunately rather easy to pull the wool over people's eyes, because really, when people think, well, what is Bitcoin? Well, it's just this load of websites, and it's a load of computers doing this crypto mine. It's a load of cryptographic calculations and SHA-256 checksums and all this stuff. Yeah. So it kind of feels like there isn't really anything you could go and inspect.
Yeah.
It's just this ecosystem, or this culture, if you like, where people have decided that there is a genuine reason to have a supply and demand, and there's value involved in that. So what an ICO scammer is hoping to do is they're hoping to basically grab hold of the fact that people are often fascinated by blockchain and cryptocurrency and how you can have this unregulated, non-centrally controlled currency. Yeah. And then they're pitching it as though not only is this a cryptocurrency, this is your chance to be like the guys who are mining bitcoins in their basements when actually it was worth nothing, and now they're accidental zillionaires.
Exactly.
So you could argue that people, well, maybe you're being a bit greedy if you go into it, but there's nothing wrong with it. If you've made bitcoins 10 years ago and you've still got them, then they're worth what they're worth. That's your good fortune.
Yeah.
Whether you intended to make the money out of it or not, that's how things panned out.
Yeah.
And what people are hoping is they want to be in at the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately why sometimes I think people go into ICO scams with their eyes wide shut.
And that kind of goes on to the point where what things can you look for when you go into these kind of ICOs? Like how can you tell if it is real or fake? Is there a way of telling it? Because I'm just thinking we're just 10 minutes in about how people are still falling for it.
Well, yeah, you'd think. I mentioned in the let's go back to the Maxim Zaslavsky case. His ICO. Obviously, so this is a cryptocurrency nobody's heard of, and the fact that you haven't heard of it, well, that sounds like a warning sign, except it's an ICO, I is initial, so of course you haven't heard of it. And he had a smart pitch here. He called it RE coin, where RE is short for real estate, I is property. Yeah. And so his idea was, hey, look, imagine that Bitcoin is, to many people, it's kind of backed by nothing. It's backed by a load of cryptographic calculations. Great. Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm running something the same. You can get it at the beginning, and the money that you invest up front, which Bitcoin didn't have, you're helping this get off the ground by putting money into this. And rather than just taking the money, I'm going to invest in real estate, which means that you have all the hey, let's get rich like the Bitcoin the guys at the start of Bitcoin did, and as well, you've got this investment in real estate. So it's kind of like, if one doesn't work, the other will save your bacon. Presumably that's the idea. Of course, the scam here was he wasn't buying real estate. Yeah. He was using the next guy's investment to make you look as though you had loads of money. typical what's pyramid or Ponzi scheme, same kind of thing, or some people know it as a Madoff scheme after Bernie Madoff, who ran a scam like that. Right. He got 150 years. Apparently he is legally entitled to 20 years off for good behaviour. So if he lives to a 201, apparently he can get out. So this scheme, the Ponzi scheme, was operating in the early years of the 20th century, if I remember correctly. So this scheme where you get, instead of actually having a real product or real supply and demand and real value, you're paying out the initial investors with money that the new investors are putting in. You're not actually investing the money at all. You're just building this pyramid which will eventually collapse.
I was going to say
it's an old scam. The problem with cryptocurrencies is, as you can imagine, it's kind of easy to make it look fantastic because the way most of people deal with cryptocurrencies, if they trade in bitcoins or if they hold bitcoins or Monero or Ether or whatever, is they log into a website and they check its value on a website and they go to some reference blockchain and they can see all the transactions that are happening. Yeah. And unfortunately, using open source web creation tools, it's surprisingly easy to create a website that looks as though loads of transactions are happening. You're just saying, this anonymous user, hash number blah, sent this much of my new cryptocurrency to this guy spent to... So you make it look as though, lots of people have invested, and you make it look as though there's some kind of fluidity, there's supply and demand because some people are buying and some people are selling with this stuff. And in fact, it's just a random number generating traffic.
Exactly. And you could also use people's genuine kind of investments off real crypto coins and just basically mirror it across, couldn't you, I guess, with...
you mean just like take Bitcoin
literally
transactions,
just take that,
change the value slightly, change the
flip
hashes so you get the timing right.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's pretty easy to create something that looks like there's you have a... So you might, even if it's a complete fake cryptocurrency, you might end up with a login and you log into a website and it shows you a balance and it shows you transactions and maybe it shows you some transaction and it shows you a dividend you've earned or interest you've earned. Yeah. The point is that that's what you see when you go to a real trustworthy bank which really does have your money and where you really can withdraw it. Yeah. And what you're hoping is that behind that, thanks to regulations, thanks to the trust thanks to the fact that you've been into the bank and you've decided, yes, I'll trust these guys, you've got some idea that what you see on the screen is a representation of something in real life. Yeah. Or if you've got a property investment, that there actually is a title deed somewhere with your name in part on it that you sort of have some kind of ownership in. But the website itself proves nothing, and unfortunately it's easy to make it look good and to make it look very real-time and active and new and novel and cool and make it look like any other cryptocurrency site you've seen. Yeah. So you asked for the tips. Let's go. I found them at last. So here are the tips. I'll read these out as I put them in the article because, like I said, we're not investment advisors. So if let's say there's a completely legit ICO and this company is going to try and do the right thing, well, some investments succeed and some fail. I can't help you decide whether a legit cryptocurrency scheme, whether these people are going to succeed or fail. If I could, I probably would be able to retire. And not really something that particularly interests me. So this is not investment advice. This is just what to watch out for. So if you do want to invest in crypto coin offerings or in cryptocurrencies, that you go in with your eyes wide open, not your eyes slammed shut. So the first thing is, if there's anything that smells like an investment where you're getting the opportunity specifically because the regulated version of the industry couldn't do this. In other words, you think, well, there are real estate companies that promise this kind of return, but it's really hard for them to get going because they have to register and they have to get certificates and they have to pass exams, they have to register with a board, and I can go and check up on them, and they're not allowed to promise returns this high, and there are all kinds of things that prevent regular real-world companies from doing it. If along comes some guy and said, hey, thanks to the magic of blockchain, we can avoid all this regulatory nonsense that means you'll only make 3x your money, you'll make 300,000x your money, then open your eyes wider. Because there's probably a very good reason why the person has chosen to go into the unregulated side of it rather than the regulated side of it. Exactly. Now, of course, that's part of the pitch. Hey, the regulations weigh us down. We've got to stick it to the man. This is the way. This is the way to invest like it's the old days of laissez-faire where the government didn't care so much. But do be wary of where it looks as though the investment, that if you were to take that same scheme and submit it to the regulations which are there supposedly to protect
I was
us,
gonna say,
if it will be completely impossible to do it, then ask yourself why the person has chosen to do it in this way.
Without that.
The second advice is, do not be suckered by a fancy-looking website and somebody who's got command of the jargon. The early Bitcoin, there's a paper, a few pages long, written about Bitcoin. If you gloss over the technical aspects and you read it, you will be able to talk in a quite highfalutin fashion about cryptocurrency. You'll actually understand why the system works and how it's designed to work and how it prevents forgery. Even if you don't understand the actual cryptographic workings, you'll have enough jargon that you can basically bluff your way in the pub.
Yeah.
And that's all you need. And so beware of somebody who seems to know what they're talking about, because actually the whole idea of cryptocurrencies, if you ignore the implementation details, then actually the procedures, the process, the mechanism by which it works is designed to be fairly straightforward to understand. You're just using a lot of people to create copies of a ledger, so you don't need to trust one guy to keep it. Therefore, there isn't a central authority, and yet it's also resistant against forgery. And once you understand that, you can basically waffle with the best of them about cryptocurrencies. And of course, setting up a flash-looking website isn't particularly difficult these days. If you're running a legit business and you have a website that doesn't look great, you'll get marked down, and people go, "Oh, you don't look very good." So there are lots of free tools even that will help somebody who knows very little about web design to build something really decent.
Really
it's just the same way that if you have a car with an automatic gearbox, it's much easier to learn to drive than if you have to change the gears by yourself.
Yeah.
Or in just the same way as if you want to do a complicated arithmetical calculation, if you whip out a calculator or the calculator on your mobile phone, anybody can be accurate, provided they type in the right numbers.
Yeah.
And so it is with websites. A lot of what looks like magic, real-time transactions, transaction numbers, complicated looking stuff, transaction graphs, things you can click through that zoom and swirl and whatever. There are plenty of free tools. And what those free tools can't do is they cannot vouch for the validity of the data behind them. That's not the job of the tool. The job of the tool is to help you present a legitimate business in the best way possible. What they can't do is force your business to be legitimate. That's not the job of software programmers.
Exactly.
So be wary of somebody who's got the gift of the gab and has a website that that you think, wow, that looks very much like what I'd see when I log in on the bank.
Yeah. Just curious, the time it's at 20.
Okay, and the last thing is, if you're in doubt, find someone in your immediate circle of family and friends. This is my advice. Ask someone that you actually know in person, not just someone you've met online, and that you trust. And most importantly in my book, somebody who is completely neutral about the scheme that you're asking about. So don't go and ask the guy who invested yesterday, because he's not going to tell you, oh no, it's terrible, I lost all my money, because he's still living the dream. And he may even, for all you know, actually get a small commission, allegedly, this extra interest or dividend. So, basically ask someone who's objective. Not someone who just go, oh no, they're all a bunch of charlatans. Somebody who kind of doesn't care whether it's good or bad and is able and is not involved in it and can look at it and say, you know what, this either looks legitimate or here are all the signs to me that this is a pack of lies. And then take that person's advice. So don't be swayed by the promise of immediate riches, because online, in ICOs, initial coin offerings, as with everything else online, whether it's the survey you take that will get you a free iPhone, basically there's no free lunch. If it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. And you know what I'm going to say? If in doubt, don't give it out. We say that for your birthday. How much more do we mean it when it comes to your actual
I was going to say with the actual money. Exactly.
So it's as simple as that. So basically, the reason these scams work is that it kind of sounds like you're getting a chance to be where the guys who were mining Bitcoin when it was literally worth nothing are now, where if they've got Bitcoins left, they're worth $7,000 or $8,000 each. Wow, I want me some of that. I don't want a 3 times multiplier, I want a 3 million times multiplier. It sounds too good to be true. And in some cases, it will be.
Unfortunately. Cool. Perfect. Thank you very much for Elizabeth as well, saying excellent advice. We do appreciate it.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
And as always, please leave your questions in the comments below, and we haven't got around to actually answering them live. We will definitely get around to doing it later. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, guys.
Stay secure. And think before you invest.
And think before